And we're live. So we are very fortunate to have Jason, the old CEO of Troppo and now the general manager for Troppo and I guess within the Cisco Spark organization as well. So what I'm going to do is just get straight down to the questions. So Jason, in your opinion, what's the value that Troppo provides to Cisco?
Yes. So when Cisco reached out to us to acquire us, it was really for three reasons. One is they liked the business we had around Tropo.com and our voice and SMS APIs and the business we were building there. What we were doing with service providers in terms of the likes of AT&T around mobile capabilities, and then also really bringing in a ability to focus on developers and take the collaboration platform, the cloud platform, which is Spark, and add APIs to it, as well as then build the developer ecosystem around it, bringing in everything we're doing on the Tropo side as well. So really around bringing in business as usual, and we've managed to do very well. We're growing that significantly, and really create a world-class developer-first experience for the Spark collaboration platform.
Ah, that's a good one. Developer first.
Yes, absolutely.
So what type of enterprise developers will be most receptive to building on the Troppo Cisco Spark APIs?
Yep. So we're seeing a whole myriad. The reason you want developers on a platform like Spark is, that's a little bit different than Tropo, and where Tropo plays is that Spark has a user community, right? Tropo has a user community, but it's developers that then have their own users thereafter, so we're one step removed. In the Spark world, there's a whole community here that we're opening up of users that today have been using it for messaging, calling, things like that. But where something like this really becomes engaging and really spreads within an organization or between organizations is once it becomes a part of your business life, right? Meaning I have my business processes working through here, my workflows, I'm getting alerts, all of these things start happening, and I gravitate here. And that's why we want to open it up for developers, is to really drive that user engagement. And then you get that virtuous cycle of developers then drawing users and users drawing developers and all that good stuff. And in terms of what we're seeing is we're seeing a wide variety of use cases, from healthcare to financial services to even automotive industry coming and wanting to engage and use the platform in various ways. So there's no shortage of verticals that want to engage, both on using the platform but also extending the platform in that case.
Interesting.
One example, go ahead.
So within the automotive healthcare, are they existing Cisco customers, or are they sort of coming into this because they see the value that this platform with the API exposure provides?
Yeah, given the scale of Cisco, it's both, right?
Gotcha.
So we have existing, Fortune 500, level companies coming in and doing things and innovating on the platform,
Cool.
and both for internal use, but also actually launching new products and services that they might be doing. All the way down to startups. We have a startup that we've been working with early on called Tagnos, and what Tagnos does is they're a combination IoT collaboration healthcare play. So right in our wheelhouse, because my boss, Rowan Trollope, has both IoT and collab, so it's convenient. But effectively what they'll do is they'll slap on the wrist of a patient an RFID tag, and as they move through a clinical situation, they'll actually apply business rules and alerts and scenarios where if you're sitting in the waiting room too long, the administrator is going to want to know that as part of that process. It might actually trigger a collaboration in a Spark room where you have a clinician, a nurse, and the administrator trying to figure out what to do next to move this person along. And then, if that doesn't work, then it relates into, a phone call alert or an SMS alert going out to a doctor in the field, all part of a closed loop process that combines together, the IoT and collaboration pieces for that in an industry that, as Cisco, my team at least, knows very little about healthcare, but this startup, gets it in spades and is really going out there and driving that, and that's the kind of innovation we want on the platform.
Cool. So in a way, it's sort of like the model we're seeing emerging with Slack, where it's sort of acting as a platform that developers are coming on and building on and acting almost like, as you mentioned, with a sort of Spark room, as you see with some of the channels within Slack, as all the alerts and the workflows coming together. What you're doing is it's very similar model within Cisco, but of course written far larger because of all the existing business process integration that's happened because of there being existing Cisco customers.
Correct, and hats off to Slack. They've done a great job in terms of engaging developers in the platform and things like that. So, they've blazed a trail there. And what we bring to the table is, we're creating that platform. We've got the APIs. We're building the developer ecosystem. But at the same time, we're in nearly every Fortune 1000 on the planet. We have 800 million phones in the market, or something crazy number like that. Don't quote me on it, but it's right? We're in telepresence and everything else. So we have a much more holistic, broad set of capabilities now with Spark coming out with call and message and meet, and the whole WebEx community and things like this. That a developer on our platform has a huge addressable market in our user base across a whole myriad of use cases that simply don't exist in any competitor.
Understood. So moving on, what's the business model for the Troppo Cisco Spark APIs? Is it simply pull-through of Cisco's platforms?
Yep. So right now, the Troppo model remains the same. So we're charging usage for phone calls and texts and things like that.
Yep.
On the Spark today, we have two sets of APIs. There is the ones that have been published first, which are the application APIs, shall we say, where it is pull-through. So right now, any user can go and sign up. There's no cost for the APIs, but for people to be able to use the platform, they have to have a license. So it's really pull-through of those user licenses. Now, we are unbundling capabilities, and I can't go into detail of exactly what those are yet, but there will also be usage-based models behind the APIs that enable other types of use cases as well, using the Spark platform and all the capabilities that Cisco has within the collaboration world.
Cool, interesting. So it's sort of like a sort of SaaS model then.
Yep, over time. It'll look more similar to Troppo as well.
Excellent.
Right?
Okay.
As also driving through that pull-through.
Excellent. So now, will Troppo, well, I guess you're all Cisco now. I keep saying Troppo all the time. But
that's great. We're still using the band Troppo. So.
That's it. So we're Troppo Cisco Spark. There you go, all together. Now, are you going to create a catalog of applications so projects can be sold across the Cisco customer base? And how can apps get onto that list? And will it be similar model to like Salesforce.com?
So, right now where we're at is we actually have an app directory within the client itself.
Okay.
So you can already see which integrations are there. Obviously we're going to expand upon that and build that out where you have app discovery capabilities when they come to that. Obviously there is an opportunity for us to provide access to the developer community to our partner and customer base. We're not ready to commit to anything yet, but we recognize that there is an opportunity there that, again, differentiates us from anyone else in the market. And we're thinking through ways how best to enable our developers within the ecosystem to take advantage of everything Cisco has to offer.
Cool. Okay, that's clear. So who are the most active channel with Cisco's Troppo Cisco Spark APIs? Is it your existing integrators or value-added resellers or the telcos?
Yeah, so on the Troppo side, it's a combination of the service providers or telcos, but also direct. So John and his team are still out there. We have a lot of direct customers on Troppo, direct to developer and things like that, which from a Cisco perspective is not the norm. So from a Spark perspective, it's 100% partner-led.
Gotcha.
Right? So the Dimension Datas of the world, the CDWs, the Presidios that have all done recent announcements that they're going to be reselling Spark. There is not a direct-to-enterprise model in the Spark world today.
Gotcha. Okay, that's clear. So it's the sort of combination both entities mean you're driving forward across both approaches.
Correct.
They're quite interesting.
And one's informing the other. So obviously we're working on driving to the channel because there's a huge opportunity there. I can't really speak to whether we would ever do direct on Spark, but
Understood. Yep, no, that's clear. And that depends, as you mentioned, you've got this plan potentially for, sort of having this SaaS-based service around all the Spark capabilities. And with that, then, that creates new business opportunities.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess it's related to the previous question, but I'll ask it because it was one that was sent through. Can I sell apps built on Troppo Cisco Spark to my enterprise customers, or will there need to be an approval process?
So right now the APIs are public.
Yep.
Right? So you may absolutely sell those to whoever you want to if you built upon those public APIs. Now, if you want to get into our app directory or app discovery capability, obviously there is a vetting process. We're just in the process of defining what that governance looks like. But there will be, we want to do some level of testing, validation, et cetera, before we put things into discoverable interfaces for our customers.
Cool. That's clear. So what do you think differentiates the sort of Troppo Cisco Spark approach to other initiatives that we're seeing emerging in the market, for example, like Huawei's Global Service Innovation Cloud that's selling to and through telcos?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, Cisco also sells through telcos and service providers. So we have a lot of people out there already selling what was known as the HCS platform, which was the precursor between the premise, call manager through to what we're doing in Spark. So we already have a massive reseller relationship with the service providers, and Spark as a cloud service. One of the things we've done there is a few things. One is Spark is encrypted end-to-end by default with no way to turn it off. So message comes in, it's encrypted. When it's at rest in our network, it's encrypted. So we never have access to the data. We've even invested heavily in providing search capabilities of encrypted data. And we have some specific innovations with that. So we're not decrypting it to search it. It's literally encrypted data that we're searching. Mm-hmm. Then the other thing we have is there's opportunities to private cloud our solution as well. So it will always be run and controlled by us because it's a cloud ops environment, but there's the ability for data sovereignty reasons to put it in France, to put it in Australia, or wherever the need may be. So we're coming at it from very much a CIO level down set of considerations, making sure your security office is happy, your IT office is happy, all your data retention policies are there, and things like that. As opposed to some of the others out there aren't thinking about that as much from an enterprise perspective, because other people don't have that enterprise experience, or they're coming from the bottom up through the developer community. Right? Yep,
that's clear. So it really is a solidly enterprise, as you said, top down from the CIO approach.
Correct.
So that's clear. That's a key differentiator. Now, looking, on your telco channels, as you mentioned, you've got well-established telco channels there. Do you see them building apps or integrating Spark into some of the platforms, for example, identity, or will they simply be just sales channels that rely on local integrators?
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, I'll take that one.
No, go right ahead, John.
Yeah. Go for it,
because,
John.
What we talk about with the service providers is that their need to differentiate and verticalize these solutions. And so they're very much interested in not just selling what everybody else does, but having the tools and the capabilities to actually develop themselves for vertical markets and offer differentiated solutions. And so they're very much interested in developing that capability, that proficiency. And that's part of our evangelism with the service providers that we deal with is teaching them that they actually can do that. And advising them as to what kind of resources they need access to, or partners that they want to incorporate. So they're very interested in looking at our ecosystem, incorporating some of the best ideas, best practices out there, and buying from the developers that we're working with to really get up to speed.
Cool. That's interesting. So that's great guidance there. So looking at, now I've got a set of questions around the Spark Innovation Fund. Now, we had a lot of questions. I sort of consolidated them down to, a few that I think you may at least be able to give an indication, or maybe not an absolute answer, but, what are the criteria to receive funding from the Spark Innovation Fund?
Yes. So today, what we've created the Spark Innovation Fund for is really to drive that developer ecosystem around the Spark platform and the Troppo platform.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're looking for are those companies that are coming and providing those unique solutions, embedding us in solutions that we already have, the vertical applications and things like this. And we're doing that through a series of equity and non-equity investments. One is to accelerate, the other is to actually, get the pie going forward, and it's all around building upon Spark. Now, that fundamentally means if you have something that's included Spark messaging or Spark calling or Troppo capabilities, we're interested in talking to you now. Sure. Obviously, just like anything else, it's an iterative process as we define that governance over time. So, now's the time to come and talk to us early on while we're iterating through that process, because it probably worked to your advantage, right? So, but that will be changing over time, and as we learn more about what is working for us and where we're getting the biggest return of what we're doing. And remember, the real focus is on expanding the Spark universe.
Exactly.
That is the primary motivator to doing this. So that's what we're looking for.
Cool. No, that's great advice. So what are the typical size of seed investments you're planning to make? And if you have anything in terms of terms that would be sort of hung around that seed investment.
Yep. So we're looking to write checks from 25K up to 250K at the seed stage, and then anything above that would look more like equity investments and things like that. So, but it depends very much on the particular situations and things like this. So it's not a set in stone, this is exactly the phases of what we're looking to do. We're still handling it on a case-by-case basis, and as we scale it out for what we're doing, obviously that will become a more solid state in terms of those investments.
Cool, that's clear. For the joint development, how will the IPR be assigned for any joint product created?
Yep. Well, the fund is not really for creating joint product.
Oh, okay.
It's enabling developers to accelerate their business.
Gotcha.
By using the Spark platform. So we're not actually interested in. That's the wrong way to put it. We're very interested in your IPR. We're not interested in owning it, right?
Yeah.
Because what we want to do is we want to enable developers, companies, third parties to have a solid state business at the end of this, because that's what drives the vibrant ecosystem, not us trying to get IPR rights.
Gotcha. Cool. And then one specific question we had was from a developer. Now, they were asking around exclusivity requirements because they're building a sort of an app, a platform, and they're looking to work across a number of enterprise sort of messaging business platforms, some of which are competitive to Cisco.
Yep. So, from our perspective, and I'm still working this out as, more broadly from a Cisco perspective, but from my personal perspective is, exclusivity doesn't buy you much, right? If you want the company to be successful in its own right, which is part of what we're doing here, you want them to be able to achieve their business goals in the way they need to and not set too many constraints beyond the fact of using our platform. Yeah. Having said that, obviously, if you give us first right advantage for time and things like this, it may cause us to move more quickly and things like that than something that is a pure play cross-platform. So I'm not saying it's not a factor, but it's not a requirement.
Understood. Yep. It's back to just basic business goals.
Exactly.
So, final question. Where do you see Troppo Spark program in 1 and 5 years from now?
Okay, so within 1 year, you'll see a vastly wider footprint or surface area of the APIs within Spark, right? So there's a series of initiatives underway where when we launched what we did in December, the API was really more about, to the point of developer experience, treating the developer like a first-class user of the platform, and we wanted to nail that experience. I think we've done that, and the website's great, the tutorials, the APIs. I think we've done a relatively good job there.
Oh yeah, and every developer I talked to said it's Troppo there.
Great. So, and now it's about expanding that surface area and adding more and more APIs, capabilities, different hooks within the platform, and things like that. So, literally within the next year, you'll see a myriad of new APIs coming out within Spark. 5 years from now, we want to dominate the collaboration space, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, the what's happening in Spark, what's happening in Troppo, that joins forces in key areas. And we really not only drive to our user base, but other people could build solutions on us that may even compete with some of our applications in the future, right? Mm-hmm. Because we want to be the de facto place where you come to consume APIs for real-time collaboration capabilities.
Cool. Excellent vision. That's excellent, Jason. Anything else, Jason, John, you'd like to add?
I think that's it. Well, I think that's it. I think we appreciate the opportunity to revisit and talk to the audience again, and hope we start getting some really interesting inquiries coming in.
Absolutely. No, it's a very exciting future you've got together. Thanks so much, guys. This is great.
Great. Thank you, Alan.